Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We are currently living in an era of historically high wages here in the US, but somehow, financial anxiety is just absolutely through the roof. Welcome to the paycheck paradox. It's this fascinating, honestly kind of terrifying phenomenon that's keeping economists up at night and leaving everyday workers incredibly frustrated. Today, we're going to dissect the underlying systems and the psychology behind why it feels like you're running a full-on marathon just to stay in the exact same place.
I mean, what if I told you that a massive chunk of high earners in the United States are literally one flat tire or one unexpected dental bill away from total financial panic? We usually associate the phrase paycheck to paycheck with minimum wage, right? But the data tells a completely different story. We are talking about a staggering percentage of people making over 100 grand a year who have virtually zero financial buffer. They're pulling in top-tier salaries, yet their bank accounts are hitting near zero right before that next direct deposit drops.
And it forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question, one that totally defies traditional financial logic. If we are earning more money than ever before, why on earth are we keeping less of it? For generations, the formula was supposedly super simple. Work hard, get a promotion, make more money, and magically achieve financial security. But yeah, that formula seems fundamentally broken. To understand why, we really need to separate the comforting fictions we've all been told from the cold, hard data.
All right, Section 1, the rich and broke myth.
So for years, we've been fed this culturally ingrained myth that basically blames individual moral failing for massive systemic economic shifts. The advice is classic, right? Skip the daily latte, stop buying avocado toast, cancel your streaming services, and poof, you'll magically be a millionaire. Personal austerity is the key. But the actual reality? We are facing unprecedented historic housing costs, soaring interest rates, and wage stagnation that completely swallows up any minor savings you might scrape together from skipping your morning coffee. Spoiler alert, you absolutely cannot budget your way out of a systemic housing crisis by clipping coupons.
And this leaves us with a uniquely modern phenomenon: the high-earning worker who played by all the rules, got the degree, landed the big job, and still feels like they are drowning. This isn't just someone mismanaging a tiny income. They look at their gross income and feel incredibly proud, but then they look at their checking account and feel terrified.
Moving on to Section 2, psychology of the squeeze.
Because yes, the economy is incredibly tough, but our brains are also actively working against us. The crucial point here is that earning more doesn't automatically mean saving more. Often, it just unlocks way more expensive ways to be broke. This is what we call lifestyle creep. It's this wild, counterintuitive phenomenon where you'd think, hey, an extra $1,000 a month means an extra $1,000 in savings. But instead, your standard of living seamlessly, almost invisibly, expands to consume that exact amount of new income. You upgrade your car, you move to a slightly nicer apartment, you buy fancy groceries. The trap snaps shut, and you don't even realize you're caught. It's literally an invisible treadmill. Step 1, you secure a raise, and you feel fantastic. But almost immediately in step 2, your brain kicks in to justify upgrading your life because, hey, you've earned it, right? By step 3, those upgrades are just your new normal. The new baseline expenses completely swallow the new income. You are right back to square one, just sweating it out on the treadmill in slightly nicer shoes. Let's look at Section 3, systemic traps by design.
Now, it's not all in your head, and we absolutely can't just blame bad spending habits. Look at how non-negotiable systemic costs completely dominate the modern budget. Massive chunks are immediately eaten up by housing and healthcare, things you can't exactly opt out of. You can't choose not to have a roof over your head, and you definitely can't choose not to get sick. When those two monoliths take up 60 or 70% of your take-home pay, the tiny little sliver that is left has to cover food, transportation, debt, and, if you're incredibly lucky, savings.
Picture this. A family does everything right. They skip the expensive vacations, they painstakingly build a healthy emergency fund over 3 years, and then one unexpected trip to the ER happens. Even with quote-unquote good insurance, the out-of-pocket deductibles and copays wipe out years of disciplined saving in a single afternoon. The sheer systemic cost of merely staying alive just hits reset on their financial progress. Back to zero.
Think about the pure demoralization of this math. You fight tooth and nail for a year, you negotiate hard, and you finally win a 5% raise. You should be getting ahead. But before your first larger paycheck even clears, your landlord sends a notice that rent is increasing by 12%. Make it make sense, right? You literally just got promoted into being poorer.
When average rent hikes consistently outpace average wage growth, it creates a mathematical trap you absolutely cannot budget your way out of. When the foundational cost of your existence, your shelter, grows at double or triple the rate of your income, the invisible treadmill is moving much, much faster than your legs can possibly run.
Which brings us to Section 4, the wealth mirage.
You'd think the high earners have giant Scrooge McDuck vaults of savings, right? Nope. When you actually compare U.S. income brackets to their liquid savings rates, the results are shockingly flat. The percentages are terrifyingly similar across the board. It proves that the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle isn't just a lower-income struggle. It is a systemic loop designed to keep the vast majority of earners running in place. A higher income definitely provides a higher standard of consuming, for sure, but rarely a higher standard of saving.
So, pulling this all together, we're looking at a perfect storm. First, high income does not equal wealth. It just equals high cash flow. Second, systemic costs like housing and healthcare are structurally designed right now to outpace standard corporate salaries. And finally, even when you do manage to get ahead, the psychological trap of lifestyle upgrade steps right in to erase your hard-won gains. We have systemic cost inflation merging perfectly with psychological spending traps.
So I want you to look at your own numbers this week. Look at your baseline expenses and ask yourself honestly, are you actually building a fortress of financial security? Or have you just been tricked into running faster and faster on an invisible treadmill? The answer might completely change the way you view your next paycheck.